children, and then there are also issues of people, say in this country, having problems when they are, especially a father, when they get separated from their wife, and who's going to be having the custody of the child, etc. There are so many things that just happen that are linked more or less with this. Then there are the issues of the church, and so I just came here because I'm thinking, wow, it's open so much. So where can I look first? What could I do, or where to start?
Well, first of all, the network I work with in England, it's very tied into stuff like the Holly Green case and the evidence that there is child trafficking going on right within the system of government and social work, which you also find in Canada. We documented that. On June 4th, there's a rally in Trafalgar Square in London, National Rally Against Child Abuse at 1 o'clock. And we're hoping, encouraging people to come down to that. But I mentioned the tribunal we're doing in September. One of the things we want to do is, like, here in Liverpool. You all live in Liverpool?
No, I live in London.
Oh, you live in London, okay. Did you come all the way up here from London?
Yes.
You did? For this? Oh my God, I should have told you about stuff happening in London. We're doing one on the 18th. I'll tell you about that after if you'll be around. That's wonderful, thank you. Here in Liverpool or in other cities, what we want to do is organize forums to coincide with in September when we're doing that, and we encourage people to come and tell their story and use it, because I find when people meet and start talking in that way, that's where we start gaining the confidence that we can change things. It's recognizing that you're not alone in this, that in fact the incident of children being harmed is phenomenally high in the culture, and you get the same response by the police of effective collusion with the perpetrator or looking the other way.
Yes.
And then it poses a question, well, if the police and the courts are not going to protect their children, then we have to. And it's not talking vigilante justice, it's talking about common law justice, which is saying, we have to, the bottom line is the protection of the children and the naming of known pedophiles and the publicly protecting ourselves from them. So that's kind of a movement that's, I find, really positive, because it gives people a sense of, we can do something right now to deal with the legacy of this. Because, in any family, when it happens, it doesn't stop. It's perpetuated in some way, unless it can be named. But naming it, you get the same pattern that I've experienced in all of Canada, which is the whistleblower, or the person who names the abuse in the family, is instantly isolated and attacked by everybody else in the family. Marginalized, accused of being crazy, that whole thing. And everybody else in the family tends to enable the abuse or protect it, or by their silence or consent. That's what's happening in the society as a whole. So we can learn, what you do is you protect the whistleblower and you support them, and you say to people, our experience doesn't lie. We're taught at a young age not to believe our own mind and not to believe our own experience. You see parents arguing, and I know I did when I was a kid, you just shut off. You go into your own world, you deny. So the first step is not denying what you know is true. And that's hard because of the way we're conditioned not to trust ourselves, to think, well, somebody else has a better, we need an expert to come in. We need to get a member of parliament on board. We're always looking out there, just like we're taught to look out there for God rather than the kingdom of heaven is within us, right? And so all of that comes when you're linking the healing process with, I guess you could say, the political or social process of just extending this out into the world and helping others and changing things. So I don't know if there's a lot of other specific things we do, and we can talk more about a website you can look at and everything. But in London, there's people as well that are working with this who can link it up with.
So, what's happening with the Holy case? Is it really the Holy case? Is it really reaching out there, or is it just still certain?
I don't know enough about it. Do people here? Are you know more?
You probably know more about it. I've been sort of following it, among others, and it's still ongoing. It's still there's been no major breakthrough, unfortunately, but there's still, Holly and her mum are still fighting. Robert Green is still fighting for them. Robert keeps getting arrested, and he won't give up. He won't give up. He's an amazing guy with so much drive and so much tenderness, and I really, he's, it's all going to be all right in the end, I think, in the long run. I mean, this is just, like Kevin has pointed out, this is just one of many situations that are all linked in together through time and across the world, and that awareness is actually becoming more and more. I mean, what's happened recently is Ellis Taylor, a friend of mine and another researcher who you may have heard of, he's been talking about this recent prosecution for child abuse in a children's home in West Wales. He's recently moved into Pembrokeshire, West Wales, and so that now is now becoming big news in the alternative media as well as.
There's also a network that we work with, and it's based in Australia. So Revd the Catholic Church started setting up this interactive network now on a website where you can go to the map of the world and hit a country and you see all of these cases. So we're trying to show how there's this global pattern. Definitely
Cornelius
global child trafficking.
is working on that.
Cornelius is working on it, and again, he's based in London. And
watch DJ Lockwood on YouTube. He's really good.
And the woman I stay with in London, Belinda McKenzie, is very involved in the Holly Greed campaign. She lives in Highgate, and she's someone who has lots of knowledge about this, so I can also link her to you if you want some more information. I'm going to give everyone, these are my websites, and on the Hidden No Longer site, hiddennolonger.com, has all of this research on it. The itccs.org is the site of our tribunal, which has a lot of these recent reports from all over the world listed. So we're kind of just trying to link all these groups, because you tend to have people who speak out on this, especially survivors. They're small in number. They feel instantly isolated. They go through a lot of attacks, including by the church and the police. So we've got to really kind of unite everybody, because it's, you're dealing with international forces here. So. We have to also do that way.
It's what we were talking about earlier, the fact that these things keep going on using the same methods and the same goals. It's happening in India now. There's a British company actually called Vedanta Steel, which is, as I say, it's a British company which owns shares in the Financial Times, and you can buy shares in it down at the stock exchange if you want. It's moving into the Orissa state in India, and they're for the same reason that that company was doing in Canada, because there's minerals there. In this case, a bauxite, and basically there's a very, very ancient culture. They're called the Dongria Khons, who practice organic farming and sustainable farming, and they have like a unique culture. They're being turfed off their lands, and what they've done is the Vedanta are promising them jobs in the mines, so they can join the rest of the Indian people in dire poverty, working as wage slaves, and living in shacks. And it's exactly the same thing as you were saying, Kevin. Exactly the same thing.
Well, in our there's a man, Matthew McDaniel, who works in our network, and he married a woman the Aka people in Thailand, in the northern highlands. A lot of their kids are used in these, they have these sex tours that go over to Bangkok, and a lot of the Aka children are used in that way. And he found out that there's American missionary groups today that are building Christian boarding schools for the Aka, and they're doing exactly the same garbage that happened years ago here in the schools. The brainwashing, and what's also Rotary Club in America has been linked to. There was a professor at the University of Oregon who was commissioned by the U.S. government in the 1970s to go over to set up a sterilization clinic for the Aka, to sterilize all the Aka women, because the whole idea was, they're having too many children, it's causing them poverty. Like what they say to the Inuit up in northern Canada. And so the same crime, sterilization, child trafficking. And he was deported from Thailand because he was getting close to this stuff about, there's some American senators, the Rotary Club, they're involved in this stuff, right? And so fortunately, because of the exposure we've given them, more like there's now rumblings that there might be a congressional inquiry into this. And so, it does have an impact when you get, thanks to the internet. I don't know what we'd do without it, frankly.
Yeah.
There's such a media censorship over this stuff. So we got to hold on to that media. It's just very vital.
Have you heard of Diego Garcia, the island in the Indian Ocean? It's a island. It's basically there's a American military base on there, naval, air force, intelligence, and that had a population on there, which was the entire population. It's like the Highland clearances. The entire population was moved off the island and moved over to across the sea to I think Kenya or Tanzania, and they're living there to this day. And they want their island back. And the thing about the is though, I mean, even if the Americans moved on there and they hadn't moved the people off, that would be bad enough on its own. But the truth is, there's plenty of room on this island for the base and the people. But the reason the Americans have moved the people off is because they don't want a native population there for political reasons. It's nothing to do with space. It's because they want those islands depopulated and uninhabited, so someone can just move in. Do you know what I mean?
Why has the American base been built there, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. A lot of the actions in Iraq came from Diego Garcia.
Oh,
You know.
right. Okay, now I remember that island. Right. Other questions about this stuff, or?
Too much to take in.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking.
I get that. You know, and I actually, I wondered your thoughts about this, because my attitude has always been, you just take the truth and you don't water it down. You just put it out there, and people do whatever they can with it. Right? But then after a while, you get psychically numb by it, and it's so overwhelming that you don't know what to do. And so, that's why I'm curious. I always ask people, what do you feel might be a roadblock in acting on this, and what are some things that you feel you could do? I mean, just trying to break down that sense of disempowerment, right?
I think some of it lies with the fact that lots and lots of people now, as we referred earlier to, are looking at the common law, our traditional laws, which are about actually, so long as you're not harming other people and abusing them or stealing from them or whatever, then you should be allowed to go about your lawful business. And I think that there is a reassertion in countries that perhaps have a basis in common law now, in England certainly. I know in Canada as well there are all sorts of things happening to do with this, where this is being challenged, and I think it can be linked in with that. But I think also it's about actually trying to encourage people to open their eyes a little bit and not shun it and push it away, because it is so, what's the word, ghastly in a sense. It's so awful that lots of people just don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe it because it says things about the way in which we have all become enslaved, and perhaps even some of the perpetrators as well.
And once you do believe it, it's very often so hard to. It can completely, it can psychologically knock you for six.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And another part is that I suppose many people say if it's going on in, for example, the places where they look after disabled youngsters and children, many of these parents are, really bad, in bad money situation, so the economics are so tight with it. People who maybe want to stand up and do something, they think, okay, I've got a mortgage, I've got a family, I've got a job, what will happen to us? It's this fear, it's this dependency, it's this modern day slavery that we are in, and that's a big obstacle, I feel, to break through. Alongside with the actual fact of saying, look, this is actually happening. I do know for sure that if I spoke to my colleagues at work, some of them would say, yes, but it only happens, it only rarely happens. Well, there is also this general perception, I think, is also a big barrier to this. There's a lot of things that could be done, because generally there's a big block for the truth.
And that's no accident.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.